Hello folks and welcome to this week's episode. In this episode what I want to show you is the new Assert template command that we've introduced in Office 365 DSC. That command allows you to automatically assess a tenant against a known good configuration template. Right now, if you are to go and install the latest version of Office 365 DSC, you will get access to a command named Assert O365 DSC template. That command there lets you specify either a template path, which is nothing but the location of a local PS1 file that represents your configuration from an Office 365 DSC configuration, or you can use template name to assess against a hosted template that we have on our website. We're going to be covering this in just a minute. Now, if you're doing template path, right, in this case, what you need to do is basically just go in and specify. So in my case, let's say I'll go and do Office 365 tenant config. I'm going to assert against that template. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to prompt me to provide credentials for the tenant I want to assess the template against. So in my case here, I'm just going to go and do, I wanted to go and do admin on MFA at O365 DSC. And it's going to go and automatically start assessing my tenant against that configuration. So that's the first one, right? I'm going to stop this here. The second one I want to show you is when you go and assess your tenant against a hosted version of a configuration. We launched last week the Office 365 DSC.com website. So on this site, you can find all information related to the project. On the landing page, you have really what I consider the marketing slide, which is what is the tool good for? What can you achieve with that tool? So really, this is just an overview of the four main pillars of what you can do with Office 365 DSC. Again, those are define your configuration scope, extract your configuration, synchronize multiple tenant or assess tenant, and get monitoring and alerts whenever there's a configuration drift that happened. If you go to the Getting Started section, you're going to see all the information on how to actually start using the tool if you've never played with it before. So how to install the module, how to write your first configuration, and we have a section on how to go and assess your tenant, which has been updated to reflect the new Assert O365 DSC template commandlet as well. And we have this template section. Now, bear with me, there's not a lot of templates available yet, but the team is actively working on producing new templates. And those templates are really vetted configuration that the team has reviewed and approved. In this case here, what you're seeing is we currently only have two templates. We are recording this as of April 3rd, 2020. So we only have two templates. So the baseline template for SharePoint Online and the baseline template for Teams. So those are the configuration you would get out of the box if you create a new M365 business tenant. So let's have a look at the Teams template. So on the page right now, what you have is you basically have a full description of what that template contains. So there's Teams messaging policy that is the edu student that has the allow sticker set to true, the allow URL preview, and so on. So you can actually read through that template if you want. So those are all the settings that are included in that template. Now at the top, what you have is the ability to download that file. If I was to go and copy the link, you're going to see that the link actually ends with an O365 extension. This is nothing more than a PS1 file that contains a configuration that we've rebranded or that we've renamed .o365 just to indicate that this is a vetted template that was available on the website. If you go and download that template, let me just quickly show you what it contains. Again, nothing fancy. It is nothing but an O365 DSC configuration that has been reviewed and approved by the team. What you see here now is how you can run the command to assess against that hosted template. So what we've done with the Assert O365 DSC template is we made it extremely easy for you folks to be able to assess against that hosted template without having to download anything. So if that template was to change somehow in the future, you can always just point to that template by name and have the latest version of that template downloaded in a temporary folder on the machine you're doing the assessment from, and have your tenant assessed against that latest version of the template. So if I go in and actually launch this here, so you see template name, that is has to match with the template we have on the templates gallery. So if you go here, those are the two templates we have right now. So you can do either the SPO M365 business baseline, or in my case, I'm going to do the Teams one. So just like in the case of the template path, where I was assessing against a local configuration, it's going to prompt me for my credentials. Just before you saw it actually downloaded the template in that temporary location. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go and do admin non-MFA at O365DSC on Microsoft.com. Pass in my super secret password. And then what it's doing is, under the cover for the technical folks, what it's doing is actually compiling that configuration. Yes, so there's already something going on. So sorry about this. I'm going to do a stop DSC configuration because I was running it just before. It's going to take a few seconds. All right, so let's try that again. Sorry about that. I'm going to go in, provide my credentials. So I'm in non-MFA at O365DSC. Now it's going to go into the assessment. In this case here, I know for a fact that the remote tenant I'm assessing against that template is not matching the template. So what the tool is going to do is going to return an error that will basically say the tenant doesn't match the template because component, let's say Teams messaging policy global is not in the desired state compared to that template. And then what we'll do is we can actually go in the advanced logs, right? So remember that everything we do with Office 365 DSC, the moment you have it installed, you have access to this Office 365 DSC log journal that captures everything that is happening under the cover. So all the assessments that's being done, if you deploy something, if you're doing the consistency check and there are drifts detected, everything is being logged in there. We're going to go back here. So in the back end, what it did, it compiled the configuration template with the credentials you passed it, and it's doing a test DSC configuration reference configuration. Right? This is something that's available out of the box. We're just that Assert O365 DSC template function is just a wrapper around this to make it easier for people to consume that functionality of DSC. So it's going to take about 30 seconds for the assessment to complete. But as the assessment is being done, I should see, there you go. So you see now I have some new events available. So I'm going to go and refresh this here. And you can see that, all right, so it's not compliant with my template because, for example, the Teams meeting configuration, right now, my template defines that the client audio port range, right? So the client audio port range should be 20, but it's currently set to 21 on that tenant. So it doesn't match my template from a Teams meeting configuration perspective. And if we go back here, so you see this message. So this is what it came back with. It basically said the environment doesn't match the template. You have the meeting configuration, which we just looked at, the broadcast configuration, and the guest messaging and upgrade policies are not matching. So you can actually go in and find information as to what exactly is not in the desired state by looking at this here. The last item I have up my sleeve for this week is that we made some major decision with the team to expand the reach of Office 365 DSC. For a while, we've been talking about having support for Azure AD, Intune, and other components of the ecosystem added to or created as a separate project. That was our intention in the beginning, to have a separate Azure AD DSC project. Given everything that we're trying to do right now with regards to respond to the COVID-19, to be able to activate teams at various customers, we realized that it was important for us to put priority on the Azure AD piece. And instead of having yet another dependency where folks would have to go and download a second module, learn that module, write their configurations to use both Office 365 DSC and Azure AD DSC. Well, we decided to include Azure AD DSC components directly within Office 365 DSC. Now, that might mean a rebranding in the future. We haven't made any decisions on it. We might end up rebranding the tool to Microsoft 365 DSC instead of Office 365 DSC. But for the moment, with the latest version of the tool, if you go and do export O365 DSC or O365 configuration, you will see that a new section has been added for Azure Active Directory. It is pretty quiet in here. Azure AD group naming policy is feeling a little lonely. Don't worry, we have the team actively working on new resources for the Azure AD front. If you're interested in helping out, please reach out. We are looking for people to help out. Right now, the first resource that we have is the group's naming policy. So this is what we have up our sleeves for Office 365 for this week. So hopefully you enjoy the improvements that we've made to the tool, especially on the Assert Office 365 DSC template front, and any feedback is always appreciated. Please make sure you share the awareness of that tool. That tool is open source. It's for you folks to be able to consume, to help you out with your rollout for your governance strategies. And especially in this time of crisis, we want to make it as easy as possible for folks to be able to get up and running with remote work stuff with their tenant. So on that note, I wish you folks a good week. Stay safe and take care.